After everything you now know about the EU, if there was a second referendum, would you vote to leave or would you vote to stay?
By the way, I've been wondering what that special place in hell looks like for those who promoted Brexit without even a sketch of a plan how to carry it safely.
If you was to speak to anyone that really knows the history of Britain and the EU, the one thing that they would definitely tell you is that we've never actually fitted in to their organisation. Wherever we can, we have tried to stop them from getting ever closer to becoming a federal state. They've always wanted to take sovereignty away from each nation state, which basically means having a seat in their parliament and taking away MPs and governments in our countries.
And that is the real problem, colleagues. Why there is such a problem in this crisis? Because member states are reluctant to transfer new sovereignty and powers to the European Union. And we all know that the only way out of this crisis is a new transfer of powers to the European Union and to the European institutions.
Now, going back as far as I can remember, the politicians have always lied to us. And they've never made it really clear to everyone when it come to the treaties. There were certain countries that were able to have a referendum on those treaties, and they were told to vote again, because you can't go against the EU.
The Irish vote decides on the Irish position, but cannot determine the position of other countries.
I used to think, after the French and Dutch results, that you were in denial. But now I realise that what's behind this is a new phenomenon. It is EU nationalism, and it is the most dangerous political phenomenon to have swept Europe since 1945. You ignore the voters, you are destroying democracy, and you have shown that you will stop at nothing.
I hope that we will not be demoralised by this and we will keep our line. What we need is, of course, sailors and navigators for fair weather, but also for difficult times. I believe we should keep the cap and go on with our project so that Europe is more necessary than ever.
Well, ask yourself, why are the politicians, why is this class now unpopular? Well, later on today, Mr Barroso, this House will be voting for a new Justice Commissioner, and it's likely that a former convicted fraudster will, after today, be the Justice Commissioner for the European Union.
Og alligevel hører man kommissionens formand sige, at ratifikationen skal fortsætte. Man taler om, at et lands skepsis ikke kan bremse udviklingen. Man søger at fremlægge det som om, at det irske folk har et problem. Men det har de ikke. Kløften er ikke mellem det irske folk og Europa. Kløften er mellem Europas folk og Europas statsledere. Kløften er ikke mellem nogle lande og resten af Europa. Frankrig, Holland og Irland ønsker ikke at bremse udviklingen. De ønsker en anden udvikling. Så fat det dog.
There has been a great deal of disparagement of my country since Friday. It is as if you feel insulted. If the response to the democratic will of the people that I've heard in the last 5 days is outrage, then there's something wrong. Make no mistake, Ireland is pro-European. We believe, as obviously you do not, that the project has lost its way. It has lost sight of the one thing it needs most, democracy.
Es wird sich ein Ausweg aus dieser Krise finden, bestimmt. Auf irgendeine Art und Weise werden wir mit Sicherheit auch die Iren wieder an Bord holen. Aber das wird uns nicht helfen. Was wir brauchen, ist die Erkenntnis, es gab einmal eine Zeit, da hatte die proeuropäische Bewegung eine Seele. Heute hat Anti-Europa eine Seele.
You see, it's only until you understand what the EU is and where they've always wanted to go that you can understand where Donald Tusk is coming. So let's carry on with Mr. Tusk.
No political force and no effective leadership for Remain.
That is a man that is panicking. He is shitting his fucking pants off. He understands that he's only got a short space of time now to try and overturn Brexit or keep us tied into that backstop. He understands that if Britain goes under WTO rules, then the likes of Germany, Spain, Italy, France are going to suffer. They're going to suffer bad. If they're unable to get their goods into Britain because it costs too much, then a lot of jobs are going to go in those countries. Now, you've got to remember that even Germany's on the brink of recession right now. Germany is on the brink of recession. So these people are totally aware that if they fuck this up, then the likes of the motor trade in Germany, companies in France, companies in Italy, companies in Spain will not forgive them. It will be the start to their end. And that, my friends, I can't wait for.
I say this without satisfaction, but you can't argue with the facts. Today, our most important task is to prevent a no-deal scenario.
See what I mean by panicking? Today we must stop a no deal from happening. Donald Tusk, the Commission, Juncker, Guy, all of them are aware how important Britain is when it comes to money. They know how important it is that we need to give them 39 billion just to keep their budget in check, even though they tend to severely overspend, and I'll do another video on that actually. But this is a man that is panicking, and I must admit I'm enjoying it. But just listen to his words very carefully, sorry. He is scared that we will leave without a deal. They're scared. So when you hear Remoaners say that we've got more to lose, just look at this man and understand the truth.
I would once again like to stress that the position of the EU27 is clear, as expressed in the documents agreed with the UK government. That is the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration. And the EU27 is not making any new offer.
The EU27 are unable to make a new offer. However, the EU27 will step in when you fuck it up. When we're that close to going to WTO, the rest of the 27, you know, the people that run the countries that you're supposed to manage, they're going to take over. And they're going to make sure a deal is done. Do you really think, Donald Tusk, that the likes of France, Germany and the rest of Europe are going to let you screw it? I don't think so, my friend. You seem to think that you have more power than you actually do. Our problem is that Theresa May thinks like you. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now.
Let me recall that the December European Council decided that the withdrawal agreement is not open for renegotiation. I hope that tomorrow we will hear from Prime Minister May a realistic suggestion on how to end the impasse in which the process of the orderly withdrawal of the UK from the EU has found itself following the latest votes in the House of Commons. The top priority for us remains the issue of the border on the island of Ireland.
This border is an absolute joke. It truly is a joke. I'm surprised that so many people fall for it. See, the EU have quite clearly stated they will never, under any circumstances, put a border up in Northern Ireland. The British government have been quite clear that they will never put a border up in Northern Ireland. The Irish government have been very clear they will never put a border up in Northern Ireland. They're the only three institutions, countries, that are able to do such a thing. So, what's going on about this border?
And the guarantee to maintain the peace process in accordance with the Good Friday Agreement. There is no room for speculation here. The EU itself is first and foremost a peace project. We will not gamble with peace or put a sell-by date on reconciliation. And this is why we insist on the backstop.
If you really believe the likes of Donald Tusk, that he cares about Ireland, cares about the Irish, cares about the British, cares about Germans, cares about the French, Italian, cares about anyone, then you are severely, and I do mean severely, deluded. They've got a plan. Brexit is putting a stop to that plan. And they will try everything they can to stop Brexit from happening. Because they're totally aware of the power that Britain has. Not only economically, but also politically. And they understand that once we leave, all the rest of the countries will go one by one.
Give us a believable guarantee for peace in Northern Ireland, and the UK will leave the EU as a trusted friend. I hope that the UK government will present ideas that will both respect this point of view and, at the same time, command a stable and clear majority in the House of Commons.
The one thing that is guaranteed, I will promise you, every one of you Brexiteers, is that we will leave the EU. How we're going to leave, I don't know. But I'm going to give the last word to one of my favourite radio presenters. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you Julia Hartley-Brewer.
It was the EU that insisted there should be no discussion before we triggered Article 50 about what would happen once we did. And once we triggered Article 50, it was the EU that insisted on this daft idea of sequencing on 3 issues key to the future relationship. They said the Irish border, the rights of EU citizens, and that 39 billion quid they're so keen to get their hands on. Now we're told the EU won't reopen the withdrawal agreement to discuss a deal that has any chance of getting through the British Parliament. Instead, they opt for insulting our politicians, insulting Leave voters, insulting the very people who, by the way, through our taxes, pay for their huge salaries, their huge pensions and their huge perks. Bear in mind that all of those who insulted this country yesterday are diplomats being paid to represent us right now. We haven't left just yet. But what is worse than what Donald Tusk, Guy Verhofstadt and Jean-Claude Juncker said yesterday and did yesterday is the British people who have welcomed it. The Remainers, like Caroline Lucas, leader of the Greens, who tweeted out, "We are all Donald Tusk." To those who cheered them on, enjoying the fact that their fellow countrymen were being insulted by an overpaid, egomaniac European diplomat. Well, I'm not angry with Donald Tusk or his henchmen. I want to thank Donald Tusk. I want to thank Guy Verhofstadt and I want to thank Jean-Claude Juncker. Yes, and even Leo Varadkar as well, the Irish Prime Minister, who, by the way, is being played like a fiddle by the European Union. I want to thank you for reminding me and 17.4 million others who voted to leave exactly why we wanted to leave your corrupt, arrogant, feather-nesting little club.